IGPP Expert Talks. I am Heena Goswami, Editorial Consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. The world looks forward to November 5th, 2024, when the US citizens will elect their next president. With growing closeness of India with its Western allies, led by the US, the familiarity created by entertainment and news media, and the people-to-people exchanges enabled by the large diaspora population. The election in US has raised excitement in Indian audience as well. Further, Indians are well aware that the policy stances of the past president in the US have had considerable impact on India, and it is bound to happen in future as well, and hence may impact them directly or indirectly. The US has been the world's oldest democracy and follows a presidential form of government, far removed from the parliamentary style of democracy that the Indians are acquainted with. What makes it furthermore complicated is that many of the electoral procedures are rooted deeply in the history and have evolved as per the needs of the time. This special series of IGPP Expert Talks aim to fill in that gap and explain almost the year-long process of electing the US president and covering the subtleties of the electoral procedure and all the issues that matter the most to the American voters and how they may impact India. Today, we are joined by two very special guests. Mr. Varghese George is the resident editor of The Hindu. He has previously worked as a newspaper's US correspondent based in Washington, D.C. He has written extensively on politics, political economy, society, and the foreign policy of India and the US, particularly the rise of nationalism in both countries in recent years and its impact on their ties with the world. His book on Indo-US foreign policy, Open Embrace, India-US Ties in the Age of Movie and Drama, was published by Penguin. Our second panelist, Dr. Manish Tiwari, is the director of IGPP. He has vast experience of working in elections both in India as well as in the US, and he's also the co-author of the seminal book, Battleground Movie. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. So I'll begin with you, Varghese. Why do we need to talk about elections in the US? Do they impact us?
Well, I think the elections in both India and the United States, which are happening this year, which impacts both of them combined impact a significant section of humanity. US, as you rightly said, is oldest democracy. India is the biggest democracy. These two countries have two different forms of election and governance system, but still the sheer scale and intensity and participation of these two in these two democracies and elections make them very exciting, an opportunity to look at the trends generally about what is happening in democracy. This year, significantly, everybody is looking at these two elections for various reasons. And one of the significant reasons that we are interested in and we are trying to discuss in the coming days and weeks, and as Manish has been discussing about this for some weeks now, is the impact of technology, particularly artificial intelligence, in electioneering, in politics, in governance in general as well. So it was 8 years ago, in 2016, that I was in DC and I was involved in campaign in the US election, that we started discussing about this comparison with India and the US. These are two countries where democracy is very deep rooted, they coordinate, and then we started talking about the impact of technology and AI in these two elections. So, democracy, technology, India, US, there is a lot that interconnected across these various aspects. Globally, people are interested in knowing and understanding what is happening to democracy, what is the intersection between democracy and technology is, and also particularly in the context of these two countries. As we said, the biggest democracy and the oldest democracy. So I think that is an idea that we have in mind going forward in this conversation. I am sure we will have a conversation on that conversation today and see how it goes.
Dr. Manish, you are the brain behind this program. You have worked in both in US and in India in the election campaigns. What are the stark similarities or differences that you find in both nations, particularly regarding the use of technology?
I think before we go to the use of technology, I just want to come back to the intelligence and the emotional communication. The public perception. When we say that we need to compare it or know what is the difference, what is the similarity. When I was in the US election campaign, we go to a campaign office and talk to people. They are not really very much interested in talking about it. They are not passionate, as passionate. In India, you go to any tea stall, any political office, people have their opinion on each and everything and they are ready to share, which is not the case in US. Largely, people they restrict. That was so. When I came back and even there, a lot of people asked me, what is like the democracy in India? How does the people vote? Similarly, when I came back, people asked me the same questions you are asking. How it is different there? So the use of technology we are talking about. 2009 election is a kind of election in India where the .com era was like just in there in the elections. It was only Advani who had a page and a website of his own, nobody else. At that time, I was studying the German elections. I was on a PhD fellowship in Germany, looking at the e-campaigning in elections. Every leader in Germany had their own website, whether it was connected. Now those website eras are kind of gone and all new technologies got so everything has set up. If you look at the elections now, it is more tech-enabled. My idea of going to the US election was to know how the election machinery, the so-called Q election machinery in the US, how does it function? What is so to draw the maps, to take voter lists, to take everything else, they would take the help of technology. In our country, it was not so. We were still making notes by hand, collecting data by. Now it has also changed. I will come to it later. But that was a major thing which kind of thought and which we discussed that we should be doing a comparative analysis of this and Indian elections.
I want to come back to this term that we used for elections, exciting. In India, we feel like we probably know the results. In US, even if we are not sure about the results, both the leaders are aged over 75. Is that exciting? Or in my view, I think more than the outcome, the process has become exciting because the use of technology. Like last few days, there was the use of AI being used to as voice of leaders who are dead and their motion to giving a message to voters. So how, despite that, the outcomes may not be as exciting and, especially in the US and not much to look forward to there. But how do you feel about the process?
Right, as Manish was mentioning, in 2009, checked the election. So we take 1 year, another behind. So 2008, when Barack Obama became the president. So that was the first election where technology and targeted campaigning was used at a massive scale with the aid of technology. So you could figure out what is a particular messaging that could fit a particular voter. So that is where it began. And in fact, if you recall, recall that. So that time, everybody wrote about it as a great new thing is here, the campaigning is so precise. For Barack Obama using those tools of technology, he was saying that some kind of it is part of his packaging, but it is not merely one new person. But later on, another election that we won in the US in 2016, by then, by 2 terms, 2016 became an election of concern because of the suspicion that technology was used to disrupt or influence the United States election by foreign action agents or foreign actors. That's a different debate altogether. If something is on the internet, whether it is foreign, what is domestic. We are sitting here and reading New York Times. Do we consider that as influence operation by New York Times? So these are all other things. Allied questions are there. But anyway, the point is that what makes the 2024 set of elections, where these two countries' elections the same year, and we are talking about only these two elections, but I think there are dozens of countries are actually having elections. This 2024 is a year of elections because numerous countries are actually. But our interest and focus is on these two countries. So now everybody is trying to understand and prevent the misuse of technology and particularly AI in a manner that limits or that distorts the function of democracy. Now, there again, there are numerous issues to be addressed. Any campaign actually seeks to influence one. Campaigning is meant for that. From student politics to what you specialize in understanding campaign and figuring out that thing. Everybody is campaigning to influence somebody else. Now, what is technology bringing into it? Technology is in a way making, at one level, campaigning more efficient. Now, how much efficiency is needed? Now, if it is made so efficient to the level that you will distort facts or you will misrepresent facts, that is a concern. But is it a question which is arising only because technology is there? No. For hundreds of years or even decades, politicians and campaigners have indeed misrepresented facts, exaggerated claims, so on and so forth. But still, there are concerns that technology brings. So, while everybody knows that there are concerns to be addressed because of technology and its impact on democracy, nobody quite knows what actually are those. In fact, I guess our effort is to make some sense of that through this discussion.
I think one of the major differences that we see in election cycles, disinformation was the key word in the last election cycle.
Right.
This time we could see the disinformation. Everybody is talking about AI. But what do by using AI? Is it influence or perception? It is the influence, but whether it is the right information. Whether it is something, so the new word which has come up is deepfake. Like, we could make anybody say anything in a video. Now, on the other side, there are positive use cases. So if you look at Modiji has recently given in Tamil Nadu is speaking Tamil, in other places he is speaking other languages. Which is like training his voice at different modes of AI, which in a way is good. Because if I want to reach out as a national party to voters to understand my language, I should be speaking in their languages. So there are all kind of cases. On the other side, there are cases where, like, you already started seeing that the wrong videos are fake, are being made and circulated in different languages. So this is the technology, how it is affecting elections is definitely something very significant. Other thing which I want to if you want to talk about is technology is definitely a part of this whole discussion, but another part was both the countries are democratic. But there is a different form of democracy. One is presidential, how is it different? What we could be doing in this program. I want you to explain to our audience that what exactly we had thought of, what kind of issues we had. So repeat on.
So I think the basic idea behind the program is to talk to a host of experts, academicians coming from social science, electoral campaigns, to talk to them about the various ways we will be impacted by the elections and the impact the election will have on the world. US remains the superpower today. So everybody is invested in the US. But we do realize that there are deficiencies in understanding the electoral procedure itself. For example, when Donald Trump became the president, we heard a lot about electoral college and how Hillary Clinton got the popular vote, but Donald Trump got the majority of the electoral college, right? I still think that we haven't completely understood, or most of the people. It was a news cycle then, but it would less be part of the conversation now. Right? And there are certain other features of the American electoral procedure, primaries, conventions, ownership, that are very alien to us. So when we talk about elections, it becomes based on individuals. We are talking about Joe Biden, we are talking about Trump, we miss on a lot of nuances and subtleties of the electoral campaign. And I have taught an undergraduate course in history, and I realized that a lot of, what we see the election procedure today have come from the historical circumstances. And we thought that it would be pertinent to understand the historical context of those moments, those procedures, and why we continue to have them today, and enrich this discussion by bringing in issues of diaspora, technology, the worldwide impact of the elections. That remains the basic idea, and I hope we'll have a lot of experts from around the world, from India and US, journalists such as yourself, to talk about these aspects.
Please, before I want to get more into what exactly this program would be, or what kind of this group and what are the steps, I want you to tell us one more thing. If you look at news cycle, also the elections, like 2016 in March, how do you think, sitting to the elections, how is the environment? How it is in terms of because we have a large and vast not all this interest. Is that as interest is
I think it's a very pertinent question. My overall sense that there is a kind of fatigue that is setting general elections, generally elections. In fact, the scholar Arjuna Padure calls it democracy fatigue. So there are various reasons for it, and one significant reason is that there is a general skepticism about social media in terms of its acceptance as a reliable source of information. And more people are aware of the fact that it can be manipulated, it can be engineered in ways. And also the excitement that was created as a top-down campaign in 2014 and 2016, extremely divisive issues. Those issues have also reached a kind of saturation where sustained campaigning or additional excitement is become really very difficult. So those issues still remain as very important political themes, but more noise on it actually has become very difficult. But yes, you are the implication of your question, I think is very valid, because there seems, at least at the moment, as we are the very first week of the Indian election, and the US election is nearly now, again, not that stage only because you pretty much know who are going to be the presidential candidates. I would say, yes, the excitement that we've seen 4 years ago and 5 years ago are slightly muted. At this point, we have several weeks and months to go before that day, so we can't be sure that it remains or return for the coming weeks.
Thank you. I think that is what I also wanted to bring out what you just said, because in India we are seeing that the NDA or the BJP is on one side of the so-called India alliance. Now we don't see an opposition as the India alliance is not as big. Though politics in the south of India, the South Indian, there is still the battle is on. But in other parts of the country, the battle is kind of there are almost foregone conclusions that BJP might or the MP might get its result. Similarly, in the US also, because they would be same candidates again, I don't know how excited the public. So after saying that, the idea of what we want to do with this series is to make people aware first about the procedures in historical context, the institutions of the US electoral system, and then we want to go to each and every topic which is there every week or every fortnight. Second part would be we would like to go with this series in studios in field in India and also in the US. So what we have thought of, like in India, we will do some of these episodes, like discussing here, sitting here, maybe a Zoom, and also from the field. Right. And similarly, for the US elections, what we want to do is like go around June, July to the US on kind of a tour talking about elections, particularly in context of technology. Right. Here in India also we will be focusing more on technology. And then we would also, the way we are doing the Indian elections, we will do the US elections in terms of observing them closely and our elections. And this is what the large plan is. So three of us, we are part of this whole discussion and everything, and we have been working on this thing for last more than 2 months, like to work the fine details of the program and everything else. But definitely it was there in our mind for long years.
Really excited to join both of you on this journey and looking forward.
Thank you. So, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today.